everybody, happy Sunday. I hope that wherever you are and whatever you are doing, you are having an amazing weekend. If you haven't already watched the Chicken and Garden update, go watch it now because I'm a little bit worried about the weather. Let's say no more. But that's not what I want to talk to you about today on this channel. I want to talk to you about range. We've talked about range a lot on the channel before. We've talked about range anxiety. We've talked about all manner of things on the main channel and also over here on Transport Evolved Take 2. But something I want to kind of revisit with you all is how far you genuinely drive in a day. So there was new data this week published by Recurrent. That is a company that takes EV specific data from your EV telematics system, collects it, and then does a whole kind of cool math things with it, or maths, that allows you to figure out things like battery lifespan, how far vehicles are being charged, how often they're being charged, and all of that jazz. And, well, the latest publication of data from Recurrent shows that the average person in the United States only drives between 20 and 40 miles a day in their EV, which completely blows out of the water any notion that people have that, oh, I need to drive 3 million miles per charge, or whatever it happens to be. The standard excuse is, I'm not buying an EV until my EV can do 500 miles per charge or 700 miles per charge, or I can drive to the next state without stopping. Obviously, if you live in the northeastern part of the US, that's relatively easy because states are tiny over there. But out in the West, our states are quite big. And unless you live in Portland and you're just jumping up to Washington State, for me to go, for example, down to California, I would need to have probably a good 300 or 400 mile range for me to get well into California. It's closer to like 270, 280 miles. I'd get to Medford from here. 300 would definitely get me into California, but then I'd be in the middle of Northern California or the top of Northern California. So let's say if I wanted to go down to San Francisco for the day, probably need about 700 miles of range. And some people say things like that. But the reality is most people, the data backs it up, only drive a short distance. Now, of course, we could say that the Recurrent data has a skewed data set, because obviously in order to be part of that data set, you also have to have had the sign-up process completed, i.e. you would have had to have gone, yeah, I would like Recurrent to access my data. You also need to be a participant long enough for them to collect enough data on you to average things out. And I also know that there's been some issues with Recurrent and certain telematics. I think Ford's telematics system for a while stopped working with Recurrent because they were worried about the API calls or something like that. I think GM vehicles also had a problem for a while. Forgive me if I'm wrong, because I'm going based on what I remember rather than actually checking the facts at the time of filming, but I vaguely remember there being an issue with Ford and GM vehicles. I might be wrong, but anyway, it's a self-selecting data set because it's going to be nerdy people signing up for that program, nerdy people who may not travel long distances, who may still be working from home, and there's a whole bunch of other considerations to come into that. So I'm going to do it in a bit more of an old-fashioned way. In the comments below, if you are confident and happy doing so, give me your rough daily mileage and maybe your rough weekly mileage. Obviously, if you're in a metric country, as most of the world is, please put your figures in kilometres, because we can use calculators and convert things. We are smart like that, as are you, because you live in a metric country. Sorry, that was a slight shade there to anyone who lives in North America and is British also, i.e. me. So self-deprecating humour for the win. Anyway, I know that my daily mileage, if I took all of the trips I do in a week and I average them out, I think my daily mileage would still be well under 20, 30 miles. Because while I live a fair way from the nearest town, I think my nearest town officially, because the town's getting bigger at quite a rapid rate, I think I'm now like 6 miles out of the nearest town. But the biggest town, the biggest city that I live nearest to, That's probably a good 10, 12, 15 miles, something like that. I need to check it on my odometer. It depends which way I go. But that's a fair way. But I only do that trip like once or twice a week. So it all adds out, it all evens out. Our mileage, unfortunately, has just dropped for a very sad reason. As I mentioned in our chicken and garden update, we said goodbye to River, our gorgeous, beautiful, wonderful Labrador, this week. She was 12. She moved to the US with us when she was 3, I think. And it would have been her 12th birthday this week. So I say she was 12. She was a leap year baby, so she was born on the 29th of February 2012. So next week would have been her birthday. Unfortunately, she passed away this week. She had lots of growths and she was in a lot of pain, and so we made the decision to say goodbye. And a lot of the mileage that we were doing before she passed away were things like to her hydrotherapy appointment. She was going to a specialist hydrotherapist. That was a good 45-mile round trip back to our house. So that was pushing up our average daily mileage. But anyway, tell me about your average daily mileage, how far you go, what trips you generally make, what your trips look like. We've talked before about whether you combine all the trips into one or whether you do little errands. Again, if you're comfortable sharing, let us know. The only trips really that we do now is we sometimes drive down to the post office and back, or we go down and get some food and come back. And then we do our weekly shop once a week. And then if we're doing long distance trips, obviously we go further. But so tomorrow, or 2 days ago, depending on when you watch this, I have to drive a car up to Washington State, to Kate Warren Elliott, to her other place of work. That's obviously a longer distance trip for me. But that's a rare occurrence. It only happens maybe once a month, maybe even less frequently if you average them out over the course of a year. So I know I'm not alone. Even though I'm in a rural location, I think my daily mileage is pretty low, and I suspect yours is too, regardless of where you live. So share it in the down below. We'll try and collate those figures and come up with a good representation of what the true average daily mileage of your fleet is. Oh, and do let me know if you drive that, cycle that, walk that, take a bus, take a train. Leave it all in the down below. And I will be back next week, hopefully without snow, because as we said in the chicken and garden update, there's some cold weather on the way. Thanks for joining me today. And if you've got thoughts, make sure you leave them below in our Discord chat room, or you can reach out to us on Mastodon. Thanks to the amazing list of people scrolling right by on your screen right now. They are some of the more than 1,500 people who help fund this channel every month through Patreon and YouTube, covering our bills, paying our team, and making sure that we can remain 100% independent. If you'd like to join them and see your name listed here, just follow the links below. There are a range of different tiers you can sign up for, from as little as $1 a month, or if you pay yearly, just under $11 a year. A massive welcome to our newest supporters: Carlie, Stoyle Pankoff, Smithers, John Strott, Kelly, Joseph Valentinetti, John Flint, and Nate Fritz. To join the list and get your shout out, become a paid Patreon member for your week of fame. If you'd like to support us with a one-off donation, you'll find links below to make Ko-fi and Bitcoin donations, and we even have an old-fashioned PO box you can reach us at. The address is also below. And if you're in need of some swag, you'll find our swag store also in the down below. This month, we're campaigning for an end to charging deserts with an amazing new t-shirt design by our in-house artist and animator, Erin. Get yours today by heading to our Redbubble store. We've got some great content coming up, so make sure you're subscribed on PeerTube or YouTube, and we'll see you soon. We make new videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you want more, the mighty algorithm thinks you'll enjoy this video, but we think that this one is also well worth a look. See you soon, and as always, keep evolving.